So we're playing against Mukip while waiting for the faction war games to play out. I've gone for a 12 weapon teams build. Yeah, just really heavy on the ranged. In case there is a Volkmar or something, I have this this chieftain at the ready. He's there specifically for killing off single entities, and he's gonna be staying safe because if he dies, I only have my guns to kill off Volkmar, and he can do pretty well against guns too. So that's always pretty scary. And let's see if I can get this to work. Free company militia, probably gonna be a bit more threatening than these most of the other things here. They do have their shots. Oh, Volkmar's actually diving in. Yeah, free company militia are going to be a tiny bit scary. I'll need to make sure that I don't get too close to them. These Empire Knights too. I'm going to need a very close eye on them to make sure that they don't do too much. But the infantry, the infantry are going to be no problem at all. As for my lord, he's going to get a dreaded 13th going right on top of these what are they called? Free company militia. That should end them really quickly. And then for Volkmar, my chieftain can almost get in range. Not to mention I also have my Ratling guns at the ready to go ahead and get them. The Empire Knights are looking like they'll be falling pretty quickly too. Now Volkmar surely won't be dying, but he is getting in a pretty rough situation, and I may be able to pick him off if he decides to dive in. So he's actually going to have to disengage, and in the meantime, while he's running away, it will allow my weapon teams to get quite a bit of damage in. Not to mention I have a good number of wolf rats here too, and they're going to rush in now to kill off all of this infantry. That should be fairly straightforward. And as for these knights, they're not really too much of a threat. They might decide to dive in, but I have enough guns where I should be able to finish them off. And for all the ranged firepower of the Empire, it looks like things are getting pretty bad for them. Except for this last unit of Empire Knights. Some of my dogs too have actually gone driven off. So things are a little bit scary here. Of course I have the balance of power, but that is what tends to happen with gun heavy builds. And Volkmar with the big dive in now. We'll see if I can actually take him out. I'm turning the guns to fire. I have my chieftain at the ready, getting in some decent damage against them. And if I can kill off the rest of the cavalry, then I'll be pretty safe. That's because the weapon teams are just so good at killing off infantry that without cavalry, they almost have free reign here. And here we go. Just the slow advance now. I even still have a unit of dogs, and they'll be doing really good too. Now, as for my chieftain, I do lose him. I did say it was important to keep him alive, and that's going to be a tiny bit bad. Volkmar could come in the late game to really screw me over, but I do still have 2 units of Ratling guns, so it's not too worrisome. Not to mention he's taking a lot of damage just pushing back my infantry also. So yeah, with his heal cap now showing, I don't think he's too much of a threat at this point. Let's just go ahead and grab my my wolf rats, clean up the rest of these Empire forces, and then I'll probably be good to go. Not to mention Volkmar, he actually took so much damage he's about to die at this point, and that means that's basically it. He goes down, game is as good as over. How's his HP looking? 300. It means that I'm actually not especially close to sniping him out yet. I need to get my Ratling guns to finish him off. And I need to make sure that I don't overcommit in an attempt to catch him, as the HP values can be pretty deceiving at times. But yeah, with the Empire forces so close to army losses, this should be a pretty straightforward victory at this point. The biggest thing that saved me here was keeping my Ratling guns alive, as they were the main anti-Volkmar tool. I think if Mukip had been spirit leeching my Ratling guns instead, Volkmar might have been able to just hard carry the game. So I sort of lucked out on that front. Of course, all the infantry would die really quickly, but I don't know if the chieftain actually wins against Volkmar. Nevertheless, pretty straightforward. Just march forwards, The Globadiers didn't do much because of the Spirit Leech counter, but everything else should have done really well. And yes, indeed, we're seeing pretty good. Essentially, if there's not enough cavalry, this build is pretty devastating. Let's see, game 2 against Mukip. I'm playing the Greenskins. I've gone Skirmishers. I have an Arachnarok Queen to summon against any of those, against any archers that show themselves. My Skirmishers are gonna, I'm just gonna throw Skirmish mode on top of them. Try to catch out the cavalry with my spiders. It looks like that works out really well in my favor. And then now the main engagement is on. Now, my Goblin Fanatics, their job is going to be to plow through all of this infantry with their fanatics. The archers will get shut down pretty quickly. And then as for Azag, I guess we'll Spirit Leech some cavalry, charge some guys in the back, try to get some terror routes, throw down a ton of AoEs too, and then that should put me in a pretty nice position. Now the Arachnarok Queen actually getting surrounded is pretty bad. I'm going to see if I can save her, but honestly this huge terror route on the Beastmen side might just be game already. Essentially, it was a really nasty blob, and then a single spell is actually going to have them all routed off. That is so bad for poor old Mukip here, as I actually have full reign to route everything. And we'll see if he's able to recover here from this pretty bad situation. Go ahead and use Wolf Riders to just chase everything off. I get a wall down. I thought I already used a wall. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. And the biggest threat right now is that Azag is actually surrounded by a couple Minotaurs. I'll pull in my spiders to pull him away. The spiders will provide just a little bit of an easier escape path, as it is easier to push through your own units than enemy units. Azag will take up into the sky, and then we're going to be good to go. This queen can just move in and kill off Minotaurs, and all my Goblin archers too. I'm actually going to turn off fire at will, and that's so that they have enough ammunition in the late game to kill off everything. Azag will come in close over here into this blob, and he's going to go ahead and just provide leadership. He doesn't really need to land at this point. Yeah, he doesn't need to land because it's a bit of a risky situation to dive headfirst into. Just some more Spirit Leeches. If I was worried about the fight, I'd probably be cycle charging with Azag more. Possibly moving over here with them to pick off some archers. And you know what? I have the micro. Let's go ahead and do that. Leadership is good enough in this situation anyways. So just breaking the leadership of these Ungors should be more than enough. All these guys are fighting the Arachnarok Queen too, so they can't really pin down Azag with any amount of mass. And then that should be game. Let's go ahead and pull in my goblins too. You know what? I have another fanatic. Let's just throw that down the line of those guys. And then yeah, then we'll basically be good. Let's see here. These Chaos Spawn are actually pinning down Azag a tiny bit. But what do we got? Just the Butchers of Kalkengard really are left. And I can clear them out with the Spirit Leech. And then after that, when it comes to the Beastmen, just cycle charging their heroes is usually enough for to kill them off, despite the balance of power and so on. So let's go ahead and get started. Hitting up Mogre the Shadow Gave. Yep, first. And there we go, that's gonna be it. And yeah, really the worst part that happened here was these Ungor Raiders got shut down really quickly. The spider summons from the Arachnarok Queen are brutal. And that huge blob too with this goblin. He actually didn't get that much damage value, but it routed off like all of the Centaurs. And that was probably the biggest misplay there. The terror from Azag too. Just really just ruining that entire blob area. So in this game up against the High Elves, I'm going for a more classic coast build. Actually a usual gun build, lots of handguns, kill off cavalry, and then I just need to disrupt these archers. To do that, I have my Sirens. There is Alariel. He has the magic damage, so I have to be very careful here that she doesn't ruin my day on that front. And then, well, yeah, basically just that. If I can manage that, I'm good. So, Let's try it out. I need to pull back with my zombies so that the deck hunters can actually start picking away at a couple archers here. And then the dogs are just going to chill in the back to distract a few archers. That's their main job, Noctilus. Looking for units that are sort of turned. That's a really nice way to get extra damage in with his shots. And using Wraith Storm too. Also a very good option. So, on this flank, there is not a lot of magic damage. Sirens will do great in that situation. And the infantry, I'm not really too worried about them because I have my front line of zombies and my handguns are actually on anti-infantry duty today. There are Sisters of Averlorn that will have to be dealt with. Noctilus will be seeing to that, and the deck hunters too actually need to be picking them off. In fact, they're firing towards my dogs, which is really nice because the dogs can pretty easily dodge their shots. So that's not too much of a problem. Go ahead and move some of my zombies too. I need to advance with a little bit of my front line here. Alariel also causing magic damage to my forces. It's going to be a little bit scary, honestly. The handguns are going down, but we'll see how this goes. Alariel still really mucking up this flank. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this goes. Let's see how the deck hunter's doing. They need to be focusing down more Sisters of Averlorn. Any cavalry, I'll have to finish them off. It looks like I'm doing okay on one of these flanks, but the other one is definitely going pretty badly in my favor. In fact, so bad, Noctilus needs to turn and help support this fight against the cavalry. If I can rout them off and then focus fire down Alariel, that's definitely going to be a pretty nice win. And given that the cavalry has just routed off, I can now turn, firing on Alariel, getting in some pretty nice damage. And if she dies, that's most of the magic damage dead for the High Elves. And that is going to be very important. The deck hunters are focus firing her down. She's taking a ton of damage. The archers are mucked up, which means that they can't do much to help this situation. And it looks like a bad situation has suddenly swung in my favor, as a lot of the magic damage for the High Elves has just gone down. Actually dying entirely at this point. And I still have my deck hunters plus a unit of scurvy dogs. So we're heading into the late game now, which means that the play styles are going to begin changing. Essentially what needs to be done is these scurvy dogs have to be cleaning up these faraway units over here. The Sirens need to get to the left flank to kill off things like these Lothran Sea Guard and so on. And then I'll be good. If the dogs die, these guys are going to rally and cause insane issues in the late game. I definitely don't want that to be happening. But just given the current state of the battle, I think I'm ahead enough where these deck hunters will probably win out the game. Never be too sure though. Deck hunters can run out of ammunition. It's no easy task for sure. So we'll keep a close eye, especially on those dogs. And in fact, I'm even losing one of my deck hunters, which is pretty bad. But Mukip taps out, and that's gonna be a victory. So there we go. Things were going pretty well for Mukip. This build does okay against this. Of course, the deck hunters are amazing at shutting down Sisters of Averlorn, but there's a lot of them, and it takes a while before they actually go down. The real heroes here were really the Sirens, acting as my own sort of type of cavalry, flanking, dodging the Sisters, and distracting a very expensive unit. And Noctilus too, with his disruption tools, is very great. Yeah, the handguns too. I use them to kill off the infantry, just because there weren't too many of them, and that seemed to work out all right also. Although a lot of my units didn't actually really pay for themselves. I guess it was just because all these elves were routing off and the game ended a bit early.